Hello everybody, I've been playing catch up with my Marvel Legends reviews lately, and here's one I've been meaning to get around to for quite a while now, and that is the Secret Empire Captain America. This was a slightly unusual release last year because it wasn't part of an official wave, it was kind of standalone. And the timing of the release is unusual. Why did we get a Secret Empire cap now after all these years? It seems slightly odd. And I have to put my hands up here and be completely upfront and honest with you. I am not a fan of that storyline. I did read it, I actually did not enjoy that run of comics. So why was I attracted to this figure? Well, initially I was going to pass on it, but I had to say I just saw the photos and I thought it looked really cool. I actually really do quite like this costume. It isn't my favorite Captain America outfit, but I think it actually looks pretty cool, and I do love that shield. So, long story short, I caved and I picked him up, and I'm going to share my thoughts with you today. So let's kick off by taking a look at the packaging. Now, this had the standard packaging that we've been used to for some years now. They seem to be shaking that up with their newer releases, but for the most part, this has been quite successful packaging over the last few years, and I've always been quite happy with it because it's quite condensed, but still relatively attractive. Now, it is all window display, of course. We do have the character-specific logo, which I'm a big fan of. I think that looks pretty cool, and we have the complimentary red card backing inlay behind the figure that really helps this figure pop in its packaging. So I think this is neatly arranged. I think this looks very displayable. You can put this on your wall somewhere, and it's eye-catching. The colours are nice, and obviously it shows off the figure in all its glory. So that's all for the good. If we look at the side panel, we see this artwork here showing off Cap taken from the comics, I believe. This looks quite nice, especially if you want to stack these up on your shelves on the side profile with your other Marvel Legends. And then if we flip it over, we have some direct artwork taken from one of the covers of the Secret Empire run. I think this is really nice artwork. It's very nicely done. You can't argue with that. And then we have a little bit of bio on the right-hand side panel there. Now, first impressions of this figure upon opening him up, I have to say, yeah, he definitely looks the part. I really like the sculpting overall, some of the colours that have been used, and he's quite visually quite striking, but all that glitters is not gold. If we start off by taking a look at this head sculpt, I think it's very cool. I quite like having that more aggressive Cap head. It's not something we typically get, so I really like this more snarling head sculpt. I think it's unusual, and I think it looks pretty cool. It's nicely done, but also very nicely painted as well. Some nice detailing around the eyes and in the lips and the teeth there as well. Not much in the way of shading, unfortunately, but that is going to be an issue as we see running through this entire figure. Because whilst the sculpting is really top notch, I think it works really well, and a lot of this is new. So the scale mail there and the individual grooves, the star, the various straps and bits and pieces that you see on this costume are all sculpted in. So this is unique to this version of the character, which is fantastic. A lot has not been recycled here. We'll even see that on the arms as well, where we can see the individual pockets that have been sculpted in. Fantastic stuff. But where it falls down, of course, is around the paint taps. Now we do have some whites and reds, which are great and they look really good, but what we really need is a wash running over some of this detailing in the sculpting, and that is just sadly not present. And it's such a shame because otherwise, this is a really great looking figure. I just wish they wouldn't skimp on the detail when it comes to the washes. If we look at the laces, for example, or if we look at the pouches on the arms, like this is just molded plastic, and it just looks cheap and it looks plastic, and I just wish with a little bit of a black wash running over this would bring this to life and make it look much more realistic, and would complement the rest of the colour scheme that we see on the figure and the overall great job they've done in terms of the sculpting. So it just feels like a missed opportunity. They have an opportunity here to just take this over the top, and it just falls ever so slightly short, and that's just disappointing. Looking at the articulation, then he does have a ball joint at the top of the neck, so of course he can rotate his head all the way around, and he can wobble it left and right a little bit as well. He does have a hinge at the top there as well, so he can move his head all the way forwards and backwards, which is brilliant. He does have ball joints in the shoulders, so the arms will lift all the way up and out. I love that. There is a complementary bicep swivel, a double joint at the elbow, and of course he has the standard pin swivel at the wrist as well, so the hand will rotate all the way around and it will hinge forwards and backwards. Pleasingly, he has a ball joint in the top of the torso. I'm a big fan of this. I think this works really well. So, of course, he can swivel from side to side at this point, but he can also swivel from side to side thanks to the swivel cut at the bottom of the waist there as well. So they've covered all bases here, which is brilliant. He can also, obviously, lean left and right a fair bit as well, thanks to that ball joint, and he can bend forwards and backwards a little bit. More backwards than forwards. That's fairly typical with these figures. Not quite as much range as I would like, but, it's pretty decent. There's ball joints in the hips, of course. The legs will kick out to the side. There's the thigh swivel at the top of the leg there. There's another swivel at the top of the boot cut as well. The legs will kick forwards. They'll kick backwards. There's a double pin at the knee there as well, so that lower leg will kick all the way back. And then we have a standard ankle pivot that will allow the foot to rock from side to side and hinge forwards and backwards. In terms of accessories, unfortunately Cap is fairly light. He does come with an alternate pair of closed fists and of course his trusty shield. And I have to say that's probably good enough. Would I have liked a little bit more? An alternate unmasked head, for example? Yep, that would have been great. Maybe some other bits and pieces would have been quite fun. Maybe something a bit fresh and original that we've not seen before. That's always appreciated. We've got a number of different Cap hands out there now that we could maybe have utilised here. But hey, beggars can't be choosers. What we have here is satisfactory though. I really do love this shield. Obviously this is newly commissioned. This is newly sculpted. It's very specific to this version of the character. I think this looks an absolute treat. I think it works really well. Works just like his circular shield. It can be popped into his back. It can snap onto his wrist. But it just looks very, very different. And I think, it works really well. So this is the highlight, I think, of this figure for me, in all honesty. The extra fist, yeah, great. You can create a couple of different distinct looks with him there. But as I said, maybe an alternate head where he wasn't snarling, or, a Steve Rogers head or something like that would have been appreciated here as well. But what we've got is pretty good, I think, for the most part, and I'm not going to complain too much about it. Okay then, so final thoughts from me. In summary, I'm going to give this figure 4 stars because actually it's pretty solid. I think there's a lot of new elements here, obviously brand new sculpting, which is really appreciated. I think the paint apps where they are fantastic. There's no smudging there. He's nice and bright and colourful. I love the new shield, as I just talked about there as well. And I think, overall, this has a really nice look to it. Where it falls down for me, where it loses that star is, typically around the lack of paint washes. I think that really would have just pushed this figure over the top. This would have been one of my probably favourite Caps, actually, if it had that paint wash there, just showing off some of the detailing. As it is, as I said, it just feels a little bit plasticky in places. And then the lack of accessories, whilst not terrible, a little bit underwhelming, a bit disappointing when there's other things that I think they could have thrown in here, again, just to take it over the top and give it that extra star. But as it is, as I say, a very good figure overall. This isn't one you're going to regret adding to the collection if you like this costume or indeed you like Secret Empire. And as I said, as someone who doesn't like Secret Empire, I still really like this figure. So that says an awful lot, I think. If you enjoyed this video, please do give it a like and remember to subscribe as there'll be plenty more videos soon.